180-degree rule. One of the most fundamental rules in the entire scope of filmmaking, it is mostly used in a conversation between two characters or sometimes even objects. So what's the 180-degree rule? Consider two characters facing each other and draw an imaginary axis joining them. The 180-degree rule tells you that the camera can only be placed on one side of the axis and throughout the conversation, it cannot cross to the other side. The only reason for the existence of this rule is visual clarity for the audience to differentiate between the placement of the characters with respect to their surroundings. But this rule has been broken by multiple filmmakers. Some of the most famous examples are the scenes from The Dark Knight.
Even to a guy like me, that's cold.
Where's Dent?
Those mob fools want you gone so they can get back to the way things were.
The Shining. And Heat.
I didn't mean to be rude. I didn't recognize you. I work in metals. I'm a salesman. My name's Neil.
To break the rule, you have to follow one step. Cross the line and place the camera on the other side of the axis. But this step has to satisfy various logical arguments. Usually, the two sides along the axis are of metaphorically opposite significance. Either it's the variation in tone, the shift in power, or even the change in characteristics. So the scene in question is from Soul, where the lead character, Joe the pianist, has fallen down in a manhole and his soul is heading to the great beyond or the afterlife. But he wants to get back to Earth and fulfill his dream of becoming a great musician. In the process, he ends up in the great before, or the pre-existence, a place where unborn souls are prepared for life. He finds a cynical soul called 22 who is reluctant to head to Earth. Somehow Joe finds a way to get back to his body but accidentally carries 22 along with himself. And Joe's soul enters the therapy cat and 22 enters Joe's body, which causes a great dilemma. The communication between Joe and 22 is through their soul's voice, while their communication with the other humans is through their mortal body's voice.
I like being in the chair.
Hey, get your head in the game.
Ah, little chainsaw.
You need to settle down. If you keep this...
Now is the time to introduce another character in the picture, Joe's mom Libba, who has been insisting him to quit his dreams and financially secure his life. Now getting to the scene, Libba is visited by her son and the therapy cat, whose bodies contain the wrong souls. Joe has to convince his mother regarding his passion for music, but Joe in the cat's body has to instruct 22 in Joe's body to get the message through. So what happens is this. Joe tells the message to 22 and 22 in turn tells Libba whatever he has to speak. Before they start convincing, the camera is placed on this side of the axis. But as Joe starts speaking, the camera simply moves to the other side without a cut and look at the result.
Repeat after me. Mom, I know we've had some rough times, but you're right. I can't be truthful with you because it seems like no matter what I do, you disapprove.
Pete Docter did a very smart thing by breaking the 180-degree rule. Not only did he fulfill the logical requirements of the rule, but he also did something more. Rather than Joe dictating the message and 22 acting as a medium, he removes 22's dialogues from the picture and switches perspectives. Now we are looking at Joe from Libba's perspective as Joe speaks on his own. And throughout the rest of the scene, the camera does not switch sides. Pete Docter has not only exhibited the shift in tone, power and characteristics, but also the change in perspective, and that's masterful filmmaking. Next time you watch a movie, notice these small things that are creatively manipulated, bent and broken, because great filmmakers often love to do that with rules. As Jim Jarmusch once said, this is filmmaking and there are no rules.